Good evening. So, after the village of Moira on Friday night, today a bomb devastated the centre of Portadown. The bombers were clearly trying to do maximum damage to the talks. They chose constituencies represented by two high-profile unionist MPs who are in those talks, Jeffrey Donaldson and David Trimble.
Good evening. Loyalist politicians are warning that the ceasefire is under pressure, and they say there's no doubt the IRA is behind both bomb attacks. But Sinn Féin deny this and insist the IRA ceasefire remains intact. Mike Nesbitt is in Portadown, and we go live to him now for the latest on today's bomb attack. Mike.
Thank you, Kate. Good evening. How easy it is to destroy. The dislodged roofs, the shattered glass, and the thick black smoke, the telltale signs that the terrorist has been to town. And let me tell you, in this town this evening, the finger is being pointed at the IRA, not the Continuity Council, not a splinter group, but the provisional IRA in County Armagh. Now, the aftershocks will obviously be felt most keenly at the talks, but before we go into the politics of the day, let's not forget the victims. Nobody injured, admittedly, but what about the people of Portadown, and what about the shopkeepers who feel they've spent 5 long years rebuilding what they lost in the last bomb attack? Jane Lockery has the story.
At 1 minute to 12, a bomb packed into a grey BMW and abandoned at the corner of Edward Street and High Street ripped through the centre of Portadown, extensively damaging shops, business premises and banks. 20 minutes earlier, a caller claiming to be from the IRA said a bomb had been planted in the centre of the town. The area was evacuated, and when the device finally exploded, concrete and glass rained down on streets and car parks, normally filled with shoppers.
Shell shock, like we just stood and everybody looked at each other, and when we came out the smoke was bellowing. And actually part of the car must have landed down in Stewart's car park behind, just where the factory is. Nobody knew. We should have been evacuated, or a phone call or something.
Just feel horror again. We really do. We've just got Portadown. It's just starting to look lovely again. It's just an awful pity. Someone cares so little for to destroy it again.
Only yards away from the seat of the explosion, 150 children aged between 2.5 and 6 and their parents had been taking part in an annual speech festival in the town hall. One of the organisers who came back to examine the wreckage was horrified that the children had been put at risk.
They were in, yes, just on the other side of those windows that are broken. So had we not got a warning, I would honestly say that there would have been mass children dead.
The people who planted this bomb have no interest in the welfare of people. They're absolutely ruthless about children, about adults, anyone, buildings, whatever. They have no interest in peace.
5 years ago, Portadown was devastated by an IRA bomb. Today, traders were reliving the nightmare.
I think there's a lot of anger in this community. So there is this Portadown town centre has once again been blew to pieces.
The Chief Constable met the Security Minister at the scene of the explosion. Ronnie Flanagan insisted it was too early to say who was responsible, but he condemned the bombers, saying the warning was inadequate, and he appealed for calm at what he described as this dangerous time.
I'm here to ensure that Mr. Craig, the Assistant Chief Constable for this area, has all the resources that he needs to protect against this form of attack. And the public can expect to see a significantly increased profile, and in that regard may expect some inconvenience, and I expect and ask for their understanding in that context.
Adam Ingram said the bomb was an attempt at murder and destruction, but the government would continue to work for peace.
There is a greater willingness and a great determination amongst those people of goodwill to move forward in this, and we will not be bombed away from that process. And that is what the people of Northern Ireland want.
Sinn Féin says the IRA ceasefire remains intact, and whoever carried out the bomb attack should publicly acknowledge responsibility. But unionist politicians are convinced it is the work of the IRA.
Well, the talks, of course, will go ahead with the Democrats, and they should and must go ahead without Sinn Féin. There can be no question of Sinn Féin re-entering the talks process after this.
This is the handiwork of the provisional IRA. They are effectively saying to the government, unless you make concessions to us, unless you have us back in the peace process, this is the kind of activity that you'll see more of in Northern Ireland.
I think there is no peace process. The peace process is now clearly what it always has been, a total farce. The efforts of the British government to resolve their conflict with Sinn Féin IRA at the cost of the unionist Protestant identity of the majority of people of Northern Ireland.
The PUP warned that the Loyalist ceasefire is now at breaking point.
What we're saying is that Loyalists should remain calm at this time, but also the Provisional IRA and Republicans need to know that they need to make sure that they get their militarists, as Jerry Adams said last week, back onto a leash, or what they could be doing was unleashing a war in this country that hasn't been seen before.
What are your fears at the moment for the peace process?
Well, my fears for the peace process is that it's going quickly down the tubes, and I'm calling now on Sinn Féin, if they want Loyalists to remain calm, to make sure they get their militarists back under control. Because we heard Jerry Adams accusing UDP last week in Dublin that the militarists were in control of UDP. I'm stating here now that the Republican militarists are in control of Sinn Féin, and they better get control quickly.
The traders of Portadown will now begin the difficult task of trying to assess how damaged their property is following the explosion. The politicians, on the other hand, will be trying to find out the damage caused to the peace process. Jane Lockery, UTV Live, Portadown.